Family, welcome back to the Royal Sussex Squad, the one and only space where we keep it real about Harry and Meghan, expose the lies of the British tabloids and remind the world that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are thriving despite the constant smear campaigns. Today, we're diving deep into the latest so-called royal drama surrounding Prince Harry's private reunion with his father, King Charles. Now, if you've been keeping up with the headlines, you've probably seen the ridiculous spin. Tabloids shouting that Harry was frustrated after a short meeting with his father. They've tried to twist this into another episode of Poor Harry Rejected Again. But when we look at the facts, and more importantly, when we strip away the palace leaks and the media manipulation, what we really see is a son who made the effort to bridge the gap with his father, and a media machine that is determined to twist it into something negative. Let's start with what we actually know. Harry travelled to the UK last month on a 4-day visit. During that trip, he reunited with King Charles for the first time in nearly 2 years. Think about that. A father and son who haven't seen each other in person for years, finally sitting down together for tea at Clarence House. Now, the tabloids would have you believe that the reunion was stiff, cold and unwelcoming. They claim the meeting was formal, that Harry left feeling like he was treated as an official visitor instead of family. But let's pause right there. Who's putting out these claims? Not Harry. Harry actually issued a statement expressing his frustration with these so-called reports. In other words, he called it out for what it was: lies, speculation and spin. Harry is tired of seeing his private conversations with his father distorted by palace insiders and their favourite tabloid mouthpieces. And let's talk about those mouthpieces. In this case, we're talking about the Sun's royal editor, Matt Wilkinson. Yes, the same Sun that has been sued time and again for lies, smears and unethical practices. He was on a Right Royal podcast, trying to act like Harry is the problem, saying things like, "It's Harry that brings the noise." Excuse me? Let's break this down. Harry didn't invite the press into Clarence House. Harry didn't call up the Sun to leak details of his meeting. Harry didn't spin this into some soap opera storyline. The leaks came from the palace, the commentary came from the press, and yet somehow it's Harry who brings the noise? No. What Harry brings is honesty, dignity, and the courage to call out lies when he sees them. Now, Emily Nash from Hello magazine also chimed in, saying there's a war of words between Harry's camp and the King's camp. Let me be clear here. Harry does not have a camp. Harry has himself, Meghan, and the truth. The palace, on the other hand, has an entire communications machine whose job is to spin, leak, and deflect. Every time the royals are in trouble, whether it's Prince Andrew's scandals, William's questionable choices, or the palace covering up real issues, they throw Harry's name out to distract the public. And you'll notice something else here. This whole story, this so-called war of words, only exists because the tabloids need Harry's name to sell papers. They need clicks. They need controversy. Because when you take Harry out of the equation, what do they have? King Charles asking for a special takeaway meal. Prince Andrew lingering in the background, still being protected despite everything. Prince William hiding behind excuses of a busy schedule while ducking accountability. Without Harry, they've got nothing but fluff and scandal. So let's really analyse what's going on here. Harry goes to see his father. They meet in private. Less than an hour later, leaks start popping up in the press saying Harry was treated formally and left feeling hurt. Harry pushes back. The tabloids double down, and the cycle continues. But here's what they're not saying. Harry made the effort. Harry reached out. Harry sat down with his father, despite years of being smeared, despite being stripped of security, despite being pushed to the margins. That shows strength. That shows maturity. That shows that Harry, not the palace, is the one who is open to reconciliation. And let's not forget Meghan in all this. The media loves to act like Meghan is somehow in the background pulling strings or fueling Harry's so-called anger. But what we know is that Meghan has consistently encouraged Harry to value his family ties while also protecting his peace. She understands the importance of connection, but she also knows the cost of being dragged back into a toxic environment. And that balance is something Harry has learned from her. Now, let's address the idea that Harry is frustrated. Of course he's frustrated. Who wouldn't be? Imagine finally meeting your father after years apart, only to have that private moment turned into a tabloid circus. Imagine trying to rebuild trust, only to see your words twisted and sold as gossip. Frustration isn't weakness. Frustration is the natural reaction to injustice, to manipulation, and to betrayal. And the audacity of these so-called royal experts to say, "We need a period of silence." Oh, really? Where was that energy when the tabloids were waging a full-scale war on Meghan while she was pregnant? Where was that silence when racist dog whistles and lies were being published daily? When Meghan begged for peace, they ignored her. When Harry asks for privacy, they mock him. But when the palace wants to sweep things under the rug, suddenly everyone's preaching about the need for quiet. Let's call this what it is: hypocrisy. Now, family, I want to zoom out for a moment because this isn't just about Harry and King Charles. This is about how the British media continues to manipulate the narrative to protect the institution while vilifying Harry and Meghan. It's about how they'll bend over backward to make William look busy and important. How they'll spin Andrew's continued protection as tradition. How they'll cover Camilla's engagements with soft puff pieces. But when it comes to Harry, they bring out the knives. And yet, despite it all, Harry and Meghan continue to rise. Harry continues to stand tall as the founder of Invictus Games, as a champion for mental health, as a father raising his children with love and integrity. Meghan continues to shine as an entrepreneur, a mother, and a woman who refused to be broken by racism, misogyny, and cruelty. That's why we need to keep exposing these lies. We need to keep supporting them. Because Harry's frustration isn't just about one meeting. It's about years of being used as a scapegoat. Years of watching his family leak stories at his expense. Years of seeing Meghan dragged through the mud. His frustration is the frustration of every person who's ever been gaslit, silenced, or betrayed by people they thought they could trust. And make no mistake, the palace and the press are working hand in hand here. This story didn't blow up because the public cared. It blew up because the tabloids needed their daily dose of Harry. They will never admit it, but Harry is their #1 source of revenue. That's why they can't stop writing about him. That's why they can't stop speculating. They need him, but Harry doesn't need them, and that's what really frustrates them. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to remind you, don't fall for the spin. Don't let the tabloids define Harry and Meghan's story. Look at their actions. Look at the love they share, the work they do, the lives they touch. That's the real story. Not some so-called formal tea, not some phantom war of words, but the reality of a couple who continue to inspire millions around the world. Prince Harry frustrated by coverage of royal reunion with King Charles. Exclusive: the Duke of Sussex has been left frustrated by coverage of his private meeting with the King. Listen to a Right Royal podcast new episode out now where Duke of Sussex's 4-day visit to the UK last month is still making headlines, particularly following his brief reunion with his father, the King. Harry and King Charles had not seen each other for nearly 2 years, but their private tea at Clarence House, which lasted less than an hour, has been the subject of intense speculation. Most recently, the Duke released a furious statement after reports suggested he had found the father-son meeting more formal than expected, reportedly feeling treated as an official visitor rather than family. In the latest episode of a Right Royal podcast, hosts Andrea Camano, Hello editor Emily Nash, and guest Matt Wilkinson, royal editor at The Sun, who first reported the story about Harry's formal visit, discussed how events unfolded and what could happen next. Emily said of the leaks, "That sort of triggered a kind of war of words between the two sides, and there's clearly a lot of frustration, both from the King's camp and Harry's, over the way things are being played out in the media." When asked whether the war of words might end soon, Matt said, "We need a period of silence, but the problem is, it's Harry that brings the noise. It's Harry's visit that brings the noise. It's his interview with The Guardian a couple of days later that brings lots of attention." The episode also covers other royal news, including Prince Andrew's status at Christmas, King Charles' latest engagement and his special takeaway request, and why Prince William's busy schedule is good news about the Princess of Wales. Family, if you've enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget you can show your support through Super Thanks. Every contribution helps keep the Royal Sussex Squad strong, independent, and able to keep fighting against the lies of the tabloids. We'll be back with more truth, more receipts, and more love for Harry and Meghan. Until then, stay blessed, stay sharp, and as always, keep supporting the Sussexes.